In episode 4, after Billy puked into Huey's mouth, Huey realized that he must have been on Compound V. Billy tells him it's just Temp V, and he's supposed to keep his mouth shut. The next day, Frenchie is able to facilitate that meeting between Billy and Nina. Billy slaps down a duffel bag full of cash and says that he needs information into Russia. And in return for that information, he's going to pay off Cherry's debt, and he threw a few $100,000 in there for Nina's troubles as well. But Nina doesn't want just money. She wants Cherry. Frenchie starts freaking out about it, and Billy has to dismiss him. After Frenchie leaves, he turns to Nina and says there's got to be something we could do, and indeed there is. When the group gets over to Russia, she's got a job for him. Now, one person that wasn't in this meeting was Huey. Huey headed to Vought Tower to meet with Starlight, and Starlight explained what was going to happen on that night's finale of American Hero, the whole Homelight thing. Huey can't believe that she's going through with it, but she told him, Huey, it's like you said, by any means necessary. This just better work. Their conversation, though, gets interrupted when Homelander walks in the room, and right away, Starlight is worried that Homelander might have overheard their conversation. It gets a little awkward. He tells Starlight, we got to go to a photo shoot, but then he just starts being a dick to Huey. When he makes a pretty rude comment that no boyfriend would want to hear about their girlfriend, Huey wants to stand up to Homelander, but he knows he can't. And it forces Starlight to flash those eyes and say, if you hurt him, or if you hurt anybody that he cares about, I walk. Homelander can't let that happen, so the two head to their photo shoot. Huey then heads off to go meet with Billy and the team. They've secured an airplane, but he does have to call out of work. Victoria finds it a little bit fishy, but she's got her own problems to deal with. That morning, Stan Edgar came to her, and he needs a favor. Homelander is spouting off to the media a big anti-Vought rhetoric, and he needs Victoria to make a statement about it. After all, Homelander did curse on TV. Victoria's just concerned about the repercussions if she does that. Homelander's not going to be happy. And on top of it, she has Zoe to think about, her daughter. But Stan tells her, don't worry about him. His bark is worse than his bite. He's not going to do anything, and he's still scared of me. So when Huey calls up Victoria to call out of work, she's all right with it, but she doesn't tell Huey any of this information. Huey, Billy, Frenchie, Mother's Milk, and Kimiko then get on the plane and head over to Russia. Now, when Huey's girlfriend returns from that photo shoot, she realizes she needs to cover her tracks and put a plan in place. The first person she heads to is Queen Maeve, and she's surprised to find Queen Maeve training because the story is that Queen Maeve hasn't trained in years and she's kind of a drunken slob. But Maeve tells her, that's what I want people to think. Starlight then asks Queen Maeve if she has any idea what BCL Red is, and Maeve says, yeah, that's the weapon that we can use to kill Homelander. Who do you think tipped them off about BCL Red? Why do you think I'm training? Why do you think I haven't had a drink in 4 months? Starlight thinks this is great. The only problem is they haven't found the BCL Red. And if they're going to take down Homelander, they're going to need a team to do so. They're going to need more than just Starlight and Queen Maeve. But the more she talks about getting a team together, the more Starlight realizes that Queen Maeve might be okay with dying. The next person she visits is Supersonic, and Supersonic is all on board with helping Starlight out. But they need to run because they have a team meeting to get to. It's the first team meeting with the all-new Seven. Homelander tries to end it pretty abruptly, but the A-Train pipes up because he's got an issue. He tried to talk to Ashley about it at a very Kendall Jenner Pepsi cringeworthy commercial, but Ashley brushed it aside. The A-Train's issue is exactly what his brother brought to the table. This superhero Blue Hawk who is over-patrolling black neighborhoods. Starlight thinks that's terrible, and the A-Train really appreciates her support on this. But while the A-Train is making this speech about how they really should just bench Blue Hawk for a little bit, it could help with their numbers in the African-American community, the Deep gets a text message from Cassandra, and he just regurgitates everything. Basically, what Cassandra told him was, these neighborhoods need more superheroes, not less. And on top of it, Homelander's target demo is the same as Blue Hawk, so by sitting him out, Homelander could end up hurting his brand. That makes a lot of sense to Homelander, so he says, yeah, A-Train, no go. He then dismisses everybody from the room because he wants to have a private conversation with Ashley. Ashley tells him that Victoria Newman is planning on having a press conference. It has to do with him, but it's probably no biggie. And he yells at her, you need to find out exactly what she's going to talk about. Do your job. When he leaves the room, he finds a fight going on between the A-Train and the Deep. The A-Train did not take kindly to the fact that the Deep decided to completely ruin his plan on sitting Nighthawk out. But Homelander ends up siding with his boy, the Deep, and it leaves the A-Train in an elevator with the new guy, Supersonic. And as the A-Train is ranting and raving about how much he's done for Homelander and how unappreciative he is, Supersonic decides to make his pitch on joining Starlight and her team. A few hours later, A-Train, Queen Maeve, Supersonic, Starlight, and Homelander get together to watch this Victoria Newman presser. Right before she does, she gets a quick pep talk from Stan Edgar about how this is the right thing to do, and then Victoria takes the podium. But instead of slapping Homelander on the wrist, she actually praises Homelander for shining a light on how corrupt Vought is and their CEO, Stan Edgar. She completely stabs him in the back, and it takes him by surprise, as well as the members of the Seven, because they're sitting there looking at Homelander with a crap-eating grin on his face, and they know full well that he must have had something to do with this. As Stan is being taken out in cuffs, he asks Victoria why, and she says, "I had to keep Zoe safe." When she gets home that night, she gets reminded of the fact that she made the right decision because Homelander is standing in her bedroom, although he came to do his end of the bargain. As he snooped through Stan Edgar's files, he found out that Stan Edgar was ready to stab Victoria in the back as well. But he also found out that Victoria was a soup, so they decide to make a trade. He gives her Compound V that she injects into her daughter, and then he takes off. When he gets back to Vought Tower, he's surprised because Stan Edgar's standing there. Stan's on a leave of absence, but Homelander is in his glory. He's reveling in this. And Stan says, "That's fine. You have the company now. No one's there to stand in your way, but nobody's there to also clean up your mess." And eventually, America's going to find out who you truly are and what a failure you are. And that does hit Homelander right in the feels. But that night, as I said, is the season finale of American Hero. This is the big Homelight episode. So Starlight and Homelander have to do something for the press. They walk out of Vought Tower, they're getting their picture taken, and Homelander tells Starlight that he wants to show her something. So he flies her away. They get to a rooftop, and the thing that Homelander wanted to show her is the fact that he killed Supersonic. He tells her that this is actually her fault. He found out about her little coup when the A-Train told her. So here's the deal. No more coups. She is just going to be a loyal servant to him. That's it. And if she so much thinks about betraying him, Huey is going to end up just like Supersonic. And all Starlight can do is just nod and say, "I understand." Now, Huey and the group have made it safely to Russia, and they do have the location of the lab, but they do need to do that job for Nina first. It's not all of them, though. It's just Kimiko. And Kimiko has no interest in it. She doesn't want to be Butcher's hired gun, and Frenchie doesn't want to be doing jobs for Nina. But Billy lays down the hammer, saying that's exactly what Kimiko is. And she will do the job. And Kimiko and Frenchie have no other options. Kimiko is going to pose as a prostitute and kill the mark. So those two head out. But the way that Billy's been treating people hasn't gone unnoticed, especially by Mother's Milk. He kind of yells at Billy for treating both Ryan and Kimiko like crap, and Billy tells him that one of the reasons he's there is to keep the team together. Billy's going to play bad cop, Mother's Milk will play good cop. A few hours later, Kimiko returns, and she has indeed killed the mark. But she's done with Billy Butcher. She wants out. And she tells Frenchie, "Let's go away. Get out of here." And for the first time, Frenchie is fine with leaving Billy, but he's not okay with leaving Huey and Mother's Milk. So he says to her, "We do this one last job, and then we'll leave." The group gets ready to take off to the lab, but Billy needs to cover his ass by souping up. He injects himself with Temp V, but he's caught by Huey. And Huey right away wants some. He's sick of being treated like a bitch, and he hates the fact that Starlight had to save him from Homelander. But even though he pleads, Billy won't give him any. So Huey just waits for Billy to leave, and he ends up taking it himself. Everybody then heads over to the lab, and they're able to easily get inside. But as they're standing in front of what probably is the tank holding Soldier Boy, a bunch of members from the Russian military burst on in. The group is bogged down, getting shot at, and that is when Billy Butcher shows everybody that he's a soup, saving everybody. But there is one member of the Russian military who has a gun pointed at Mother's Milk, and that's when Huey jumps into action, showing everybody that Huey is also taking Temp V. With everybody now dead, Huey and Billy have some explaining to do. They tell the group it's only temporary, but Billy is pissed off at Huey. Huey thought that Billy would be okay with it after just saving Mother's Milk, but Billy's not. He just walks over to the tank and rips the door off. And sure enough, there is Soldier Boy, standing there alive. Soldier Boy takes all the wires out of his arm. He walks out of the tank, but then he unleashes a burst of energy from his chest. It's directed right at Frenchie, and Kimiko throws Frenchie out of the way and takes the full brunt of the force. Soldier Boy then just casually walks outside, and Frenchie goes to check on Kimiko. She's pretty banged up, but what's really disturbing is she's not healing, and Frenchie starts freaking out a little bit. The group can't even go after Soldier Boy because they have to rush Kimiko to a hospital. faith in Billy Butcher is non-existent, and Kimiko is clinging to life. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.